My sister made a video turning me into the villain. I stayed calm, gathered proof, and let the truth bring consequences she did not expect. Turns out, I'm not the one who needs to change. She's the one facing the fallout. I'd been home for less than an hour, my fingers still aching from working on a busted engine all day, when Olivia's voice hit my ears like a slap. "Still playing those stupid games?" she said, standing at the kitchen table with a bowl of cereal like she owned the place. She was 16, and she never missed a chance to take a shot at me, especially when I was unwinding after work. I didn't look up from the TV. Yeah, because it's the only thing that doesn't make me want to punch a hole in the wall. That was enough to make her snicker. "Man-child." "Yeah, whatever," I muttered. I wasn't in the mood. Mom came in right after, like clockwork, her eyes already half closed in that way she did when she was tuning out whatever was happening. "She's just being a teenager, Eli," Mom said, like I didn't already know that. "You need to let it slide." I gritted my teeth. "I'm not the one throwing insults around, Mom." "Olivia's going through a phase," she repeated, waving it off, like that made it okay. "And you don't need to play video games all the time, you know. It's not healthy." I could feel my blood starting to boil. "What do you want me to do, Mom? I work my ass off every day, pay half the bills, buy groceries, and you still treat me like I'm a freeloader." Mom didn't respond, just started sorting through the mail like I wasn't even talking. "Just leave him alone, Liv," I said, my voice low, but it still had that edge to it. "You're always on my case." Olivia rolled her eyes. "You're pathetic. Maybe if you didn't waste your life on cars, you'd be something other than a mechanic." That stung more than it should have. A failed mechanic. As if fixing engines wasn't something I was good at, something that actually made a living. "You don't get it, Liv," I muttered. "But whatever. Keep going. It's what you're good at." She smirked. "Loser." My hands tightened into fists. I was tired, so tired, of being the punching bag. And tired of Mom never seeing it. Always siding with Olivia like I didn't exist outside of whatever made her daughter happy. I looked at my dad, sitting in the corner of the room, flipping through a newspaper. He hadn't said a word. He never did. I took a deep breath, letting the tension sit in my chest. I wasn't ready to blow up yet, but I could feel the anger building. I was getting close to the edge. I wanted peace, sure, but it felt like a distant dream. I dragged myself through the front door at 9:30 p.m., stiff and sore from a long day at the shop. My hands still had grease under the nails, and I was ready to collapse on the couch, maybe take a hot shower, and forget the day ever happened. But of course, Olivia wasn't done with me yet. "Still wasting your life, huh?" she called out from the kitchen, her voice cutting through the house like a blade. She was sitting at the table, holding her phone like she was the queen of the world. I dropped my bag by the door, letting out a tired sigh. "I just want to eat something and relax, Liv. Can you give it a rest for once?" She didn't even look up, just kept scrolling through whatever nonsense she was posting now. "You can't even afford to live on your own. But sure, enjoy your video games, man-child. You're a failure." I clenched my jaw and rubbed the back of my neck. I was exhausted, and the last thing I needed was to hear her tear me down again. "You don't know anything about me, Olivia. You're just mad because you've wasted your life fixing cars instead of doing something real," she shot back, her voice dripping with that fake sweetness she always used to push my buttons. I let out a bitter laugh, sitting down on the couch and peeling off my boots. At least I'm doing something. At least I'm not stuck in high school, pretending the world revolves around me. That made her pause, but only for a second. She let out a little scoff and went back to her phone. I could feel the heat in my chest rising, but I didn't want to escalate it. Not tonight. Not after the day I'd had. Mom came out of the kitchen just then, carrying a plate of leftovers. "Olivia, leave your brother alone. He works hard." "It's just a phase, Eli," she said, dismissing it like she always did. "You'll be fine. You need to stop letting her get to you." I wanted to scream, wanted to say something that would finally make her see how unfair this was. But I didn't. I just nodded and kept my mouth shut, letting the words burn in my throat. My mom was never going to change, and Olivia didn't care. I sat there for a few more minutes, scrolling through my phone, trying to unwind. But peace never lasted. I went to bed early, hoping for some sleep. It wasn't until the next morning that I found out just how far Olivia had taken it. I was having my coffee when I saw it, a notification on my phone, a comment, then another. Then I checked Instagram, and the comments kept coming. I opened the link to her TikTok video, and there it was. A video of me, sitting on the couch, playing my damn game. It was cropped perfectly to make sure I looked like a pathetic slob. Olivia's voice in the background, mocking me. Look at this man-child who never grew up. 24 years old, and still living at home, playing video games instead of getting a real job. A failed mechanic who's too lazy to do anything but waste his life. And the worst part? She'd included personal details. Our home address. My place of work. It was all there for everyone to see. My stomach twisted as I scrolled through the comments. There were likes from my coworkers, from people from my old high school. Some of them were calling me pathetic. A couple even laughed. The entire video had over 1,000 views in less than 12 hours. I didn't feel the rage like I thought I would. It was more like a dull ache, a deep stab of humiliation. But I couldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me lose my shit over it. Not this time. I stared at the video, the words echoing in my head. I shouldn't be surprised. I had gotten used to being the joke in this house, but seeing it out there for the world to mock? It was different. I didn't even bother talking to Olivia. I didn't want to give her more attention. Instead, I grabbed my phone, recorded a video of my own. Just a quick one. I kept my voice calm, collected, and said exactly what I needed to. I'm Eli Adams. This video is slanderous and defamatory. I'm contacting a lawyer, and I'm not going to let this go. I didn't say it angrily. I just said it like I was stating a fact, because that's what it was. Then I saved it, closed my phone, and started planning what I was going to do next. I wasn't going to sit back and let her ruin me. Not anymore. I sat in the kitchen the next morning, staring at my phone. The video was still there, still eating away at me. I needed to talk to someone. My dad wasn't much of a talker, but I figured it was worth a shot. Maybe he'd finally step up. I found him in the garage, tinkering with an old lawnmower like always. Dad, I need to talk to you, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He looked up, his hands covered in grease. But his expression was unreadable. What's up? I'm done with this, I said, holding up my phone to show him the video. Olivia posted this about me. It's humiliating. I need something done about it. Dad glanced at the screen, then back at the lawnmower. She's just being a kid. Let it go. I felt my chest tighten. A kid? She's 16, Dad. She's fully aware of what she's doing. This isn't just her being a kid. She's attacking me, and Mom's just letting her get away with it. He shrugged, wiping his hands on a rag. Just ignore her. It's not worth fighting over. You don't get it. I snapped, the frustration spilling out. I'm paying half the bills, working every damn day to keep this place running, and I'm still the one getting shit on. I'm tired of being invisible in this house. Dad sighed and leaned back, finally looking at me. You know I'm not good with this kind of stuff. Just don't let it bother you. I shook my head, feeling the anger simmering under my skin. It's not that simple. She's pushing me out, making me feel like I'm nothing. And you're just sitting here, doing nothing. Do you even notice what I'm doing for this family? He didn't answer right away, just stood there staring at the broken mower. I felt the silence settle over us, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. He wasn't going to help. Not this time. I walked out of the garage, my heart sinking, and made my way to the kitchen. I could already hear Olivia's voice from the living room. She was talking to her friends, laughing like everything was fine. I was barely able to sit down before Mom came in, her face pinched as usual. What now, Eli? I didn't hold back this time. Olivia's gone through my stuff again, Mom. A few things are missing. My tools, my jacket, and my boots. I paused, swallowing hard. My work boots. She broke them. Her eyes narrowed, but her voice didn't waver. She's just being a teenager. You know how she is. You shouldn't take it so personally. I felt my face flush with frustration. Personal? Are you kidding me? She's invading my privacy, stealing my things, and you're still making excuses for her. It's humiliating living here, Mom. I can't keep pretending it's fine. Mom's face hardened. Eli, you're overreacting. Olivia's behavior is just a phase. You need to be the bigger person and stop giving her attention. She's a kid. You should know better. I couldn't stop myself. The words spilled out before I could stop them. I'm the one who's been acting like the bigger person. I've been taking care of everything in this house, keeping it all together, and you keep letting her walk all over me. I'm done. Mom crossed her arms, her mouth set in that tight line I hated. You don't mean that. I do, I said, my voice steady. I'm going to move out if things don't change. I can't keep doing this anymore. Her eyes flashed with something. Disappointment, maybe. Don't say things you'll regret. You're just making everything harder than it needs to be. I don't care. I shot back. I'm done being your punching bag. I stood up, feeling the heat in my chest. I needed to do this. I had to get out. I couldn't stay here, getting torn apart piece by piece. I left the kitchen without another word, heading straight to my room. I spent the next couple of hours looking for apartments. Some cheap places, not too far from work. I wasn't looking for anything fancy, just a roof over my head, somewhere I could be left the hell alone. Olivia came into the room later that day, like nothing had changed. Hey, loser. You still crying about your boots? I didn't even look up from the screen. Go away, Olivia. Ah, what's wrong? You gonna run off crying now? The taunt stung, but I held my ground. I wasn't letting her win. Not anymore. She left eventually, laughing as she went. I sat there, thinking about how easy it would be to walk away, how simple it would be to just leave. But I wasn't going to let her keep doing this to me. If things didn't change soon, I'd be out the door before she could even think of another prank. I spent the next couple of days in a kind of numb daze, piecing together what I had to do. The video was bad enough, but Olivia wasn't done. She kept making my life hell, taunting me with snide remarks, hiding my tools, spilling oil on my jacket when I wasn't looking. It was like a full-time job for her to make sure I knew I was nothing. I wasn't going to just sit here and let it keep happening. I needed to do something. So, I called a lawyer. I didn't want to drag this into the courts, but at this point, what choice did I have? She'd crossed a line. I couldn't just sit back and let her wreck my life for sport. I sent the lawyer everything, screenshots of the TikTok video, my comments, the details she'd put out there about where I lived, where I worked. I didn't want to involve the law, but if it came to that, I'd make sure she learned a lesson. Olivia's not going to get away with this, I told myself, over and over. The words didn't make me feel any better, but it was the only thing I could hold on to right now. At home, things only got worse. Olivia's insults turned more pointed, more vicious, as if she could sense I was finally taking action. One day I came home to find my work boots missing, again. She had hidden them behind the washing machine, like some kind of sick joke. That night, after a brutal shift at the shop where I had to fix a busted engine for a customer who wouldn't stop complaining, I was beyond done. I barely had the energy to stand, but I still had to face her. I was sick of being her punchline. I was done with the taunts, the pranks. It wasn't just annoying anymore. It was destroying me, piece by piece. I found her in the living room, as usual, on her phone, laughing with her friends. Olivia, I said, my voice low but steady. I didn't give her a chance to speak. If you don't stop this, I'll take legal action. I'm done letting you make a fool of me. If you keep posting those videos and spreading lies, I'll make sure you feel the consequences. She didn't even look up from her phone. Oh, please. You're just gonna threaten me with that again? Like last time? I stepped forward, close enough that she had to look at me. No, I'm not kidding. I've already contacted a lawyer. If you don't take that video down and stop all of this, I will make sure you have to answer for it. I'm not letting this go, Liv. She laughed, just a quick, dismissive snort, and dropped her phone on the couch. Yeah, right. You can't even get your life together, and now you're going to try to scare me with some lawyer? You're such a joke. The sting of her words hit me, but I held firm. I didn't let her see how much it hurt. I'm serious, I said, my voice colder than it had been. If you want to keep making my life miserable, you're going to pay for it. I don't care what you think of me anymore. She rolled her eyes, clearly not taking me seriously. You're such a loser, she muttered, turning back to her phone. That was it. I couldn't stay here anymore. I felt like I was suffocating in this house, constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next insult or prank. The thought of just walking away, of finally leaving this toxic place, made the weight on my chest feel a little lighter. I started packing that night. I didn't have a plan yet, no place to go exactly, but I didn't need one. I couldn't stay here, not with her, not with the way Mom kept enabling her. I'd had enough. I started packing up my clothes, my tools, the few things that meant anything to me. It wasn't easy. There was so much guilt. Guilt about leaving my dad behind. Guilt about leaving everything I'd worked for. But I had to. I wasn't going to let Olivia win. My dad showed up in the living room a few hours later, looking like he'd just woken up from a nap. He saw the bags by the door, the empty shelves. He didn't ask what was going on. Didn't even question it. Just quietly walked over to me and said, "You need help?" "Yeah," I said, the words sticking in my throat. "I do." He nodded, his face unreadable as usual. He didn't say anything else. He just helped me load the car with my stuff. There was no big speech, no moment of fatherly advice. But I appreciated it. It was more than I'd gotten from him in years. When the car was loaded, I stood there for a moment, looking at the house. I thought about all the times I tried to make it work. All the ways I tried to keep things together, tried to be a part of the family. But the truth was, this place wasn't home anymore. It hadn't been for a long time. I didn't look back as I pulled out of the driveway. Olivia was probably in her room, still laughing at my expense, but I was done. I had nothing left to prove here. I didn't waste any time. The moment I was settled into my new place, I contacted the lawyer again. I wasn't going to let Olivia's little stunt slide. I didn't care what it took. It was time for her to face the consequences. The lawyer's office was small and plain, the kind of place you'd expect a busy professional to run out of. I sat down across from him, trying to keep the nerves at bay, but they were there. It felt real now. I saw the video, he said after a quick glance at the file I'd handed him. And it's clear you've got grounds to take action. Defamation, harassment, even emotional distress. We can move forward with a cease and desist letter right away. That'll make it clear to her that she's crossed a line. I nodded, trying to keep my hands from shaking. What happens if she doesn't stop? I'm not just looking for her to take the video down. I want her to understand there are consequences for this. The lawyer leaned back, tapping his pen on the desk. If she keeps going, we can explore other options. Civil court, emotional damages, that sort of thing. The goal here is to make her realize she can't just bully you without repercussions. I exhaled, trying to process everything. I just want her to stop, to leave me alone. That's exactly what we're going for. He pulled out a couple of forms, scribbling a few notes on one of them. I'll get the cease and desist sent out today. But you need to be prepared. This could escalate. She might push back, spread more lies, maybe even try to make you look bad. I can handle it, I said, though I wasn't sure I believed it. I'd been handling it for years, hadn't I? I'm ready to do whatever it takes to get this to stop. A week later, things did escalate. Olivia, in her usual way, didn't back down. She was getting desperate. I started seeing more posts on her social media, spreading lies about me, about us. She told anyone who would listen that I'd been abusive, that I'd always treated her poorly, that I was the reason she felt like she couldn't be herself. She painted me as the villain in her little story, and it was starting to work. Her lies spread like wildfire. Our extended family started calling. My aunts, uncles, cousins, all of them reaching out, asking if what Olivia had said was true. Some of them were genuinely concerned. Others just wanted to be in the loop, as if it were a piece of gossip. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. It wasn't true. But even if they believed her, it didn't matter anymore. Mom was another story. She called me up, yelling, accusing me of tearing the family apart, of making everything worse by standing up for myself. She told me I was being too harsh, that I shouldn't have involved the lawyer. She said I was hurting Olivia's future, and she wasn't going to let me ruin her life. You're the one making all of this harder, Eli, she shouted into the phone one night, her voice shrill. Olivia's just a kid, and you're turning this into something it's not. You're tearing this family apart over some stupid video. I could barely hold back the words. You've been letting her do whatever she wants. You let her make me feel like garbage every single day, and now I'm supposed to just ignore it? I've been fighting for this family to work, and it's never been enough. She didn't care. She was always going to defend Olivia, always going to paint me as the bad guy. I'm done, I said, my voice quieter now. I'm not going to keep letting you protect her at my expense. You're making a huge mistake, she hissed, and I could hear her tears in the background, but it didn't change anything. You'll regret this, Eli. You'll regret leaving. I already regret staying, I said, and hung up. It was becoming clear to me. I was done with this toxic environment. I had to leave it all behind. To make things work, I started taking a part-time job at a local diner. I wasn't making much, but it helped cover some of the costs while I got things in order. I also kept searching for a more permanent place, somewhere I could finally start fresh, somewhere I could breathe again. Every time I saw Olivia's posts or heard about another lie she spread, the rage simmered beneath my skin. But I kept it in check. She could say whatever she wanted. I wasn't going to feed into it. I wasn't going to give her more ammunition. Mom kept calling, kept pushing, kept trying to guilt me into giving in. But I was over it. Over the years of manipulation, over being treated like I wasn't good enough, over feeling like I had to beg for any shred of support. I was finally taking control, and if they didn't like it, That was their problem. The longer Olivia's drama played out, the worse things got. Her social media following skyrocketed as she fed the fire, racking up likes and comments from people who didn't know shit about our family. She posted videos and pictures of me, some of them doctored, others taken out of context, and the more she did, the more her followers rallied behind her. They called me every name under the sun: manipulator, abuser, failure. She kept calling me out, sharing every detail of her twisted version of events. And as much as I wanted to ignore it, it was impossible. It was everywhere. Local news stations picked up the story, running pieces about the family scandal, about how I was allegedly abusive. I didn't even know how they got involved. It was the kind of attention I never wanted. My phone was buzzing constantly with messages. Most of them were from family. "Is this true, Eli?" my aunt texted. "I can't believe this is happening. Please tell me this is all lies," my cousin asked, voice full of concern. "What's going on with you and Olivia?" The questions came faster and faster, until my inbox felt like a minefield. Some of my relatives outright believed Olivia's version of events. Others weren't sure what to think, but were desperate for an explanation. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I focused on what mattered: getting away from the mess, keeping my head down, and trying to stay sane. At home, things weren't any better. Olivia's behavior just kept escalating, and Mom? She was still protecting her. Every time Olivia would say something nasty to me or about me, Mom would brush it off, telling me it was just a phase, that Olivia didn't mean it. Even when Olivia posted more videos calling me an abusive loser, Mom would turn it around on me, saying I should have handled things better. But I was done engaging. I barely spoke to Olivia. Whenever she'd make a jab at me, I'd either ignore her or leave the room. I wasn't going to give her more ammunition. I wasn't going to let her drag me into her toxic web. One day, after an especially quiet dinner, my dad finally spoke up. It was the first time he'd said anything of substance in weeks, and it wasn't exactly what I'd hoped to hear. "I'm disappointed in how all this has gone," he said, his voice low and calm, like he was just stating a fact. "This isn't how I wanted things to end." I looked up from my plate, meeting his gaze. "What do you mean, Dad?" He exhaled and leaned back in his chair. "I don't know. I just thought we could have handled it better as a family. I didn't think it would get this ugly." I didn't know how to respond to that. What was there to say? He hadn't even been involved in any of this until now. He'd been silent while Olivia and Mom dragged me through hell. And now, suddenly, he was disappointed in me for standing up for myself? I didn't want it to get ugly either, I said quietly. But when is enough enough? When do I stop letting her walk all over me? Dad looked down, avoiding my eyes. He always did that when he didn't want to engage. "I don't want to choose sides, Eli. You know that. This whole thing has been hard on everyone. And I just what?" I cut in, frustrated. "You can't even take a stand on anything. Not even when I'm being dragged through the dirt by your daughter." He didn't answer. He never did when I pushed him that hard. Instead, he just stood up, his shoulders tense, and left the room. It was the same old thing. He never got involved, never stood up for me. It was always Olivia. I spent the rest of the night in silence, trying to ignore the weight in my chest, but it wasn't easy. I was so damn tired of being the one who had to pick up the pieces, the one who had to carry the burden of this family's dysfunction. I didn't know how much longer I could stand it. I kept to myself more and more. My phone stayed quiet, aside from a few work calls, but my mind was still cluttered with the lies swirling around me. My mom kept calling, but I didn't pick up. I didn't need more of her guilt trips. I was drowning in this. And the worst part? No one was offering me a lifeline. I wasn't even sure I wanted one anymore. Olivia's empire of lies started to crumble faster than I expected. At first, it seemed like her followers only grew, feeding off the drama she was stirring up. But as the days dragged on, I noticed something shift. People started asking questions. People who didn't know either of us, but were tired of her constant rants. I saw comments on her posts questioning the validity of her claims, calling her out for being overdramatic. Even a few of her friends at school started pulling back, saying things like, "This isn't cool, Liv." I think the pressure got to her faster than she realized. One afternoon, I was sitting in my new apartment, the silence finally feeling like a relief when my phone buzzed. I wasn't expecting anything important, but when I saw the name on the caller ID, I felt my heart skip a beat. It was my lawyer. "Eli, I've got news," the lawyer said, his voice sounding almost too calm. "Olivia's post has been taken down. We sent the cease and desist letter, and it worked. She's also facing some disciplinary action at school for spreading false information. They've started an investigation into the claims she made. The words hung in the air, but I barely felt a spark of satisfaction. I had won this round, but it didn't feel like victory. It just felt like another step in a long, painful journey. Are you sure they're taking it seriously? I asked, trying to steady myself. She's not just going to weasel out of this. They're taking it seriously, Eli. It's not just her being a drama queen anymore. She's crossed a legal line. This is bigger than her usual high school antics. He paused. She's not going to get away with this. I said thanks and hung up, sitting there, my hands trembling just a little. I hadn't thought this through. I wasn't sure what I was feeling. Relief, maybe, but also guilt. I was still a part of her life, whether I wanted to be or not. And now she was facing the fallout for something I'd had to take action on. A few days later, Olivia exploded. I had just gotten home from work when I heard her shouting from the other side of the house. This is all your fault, Eli. You ruined my life. You're not even my family anymore. Her words punched through me, sharper than anything she'd ever said before. But I didn't react. I couldn't. This wasn't about me anymore. I wasn't her punching bag. I walked into the living room to find her pacing, red-faced, eyes filled with rage. You think you're the hero, don't you? You think you've won? You haven't won shit. You've ruined everything. I'm gonna hate you for the rest of my life. I stood still, not giving her the satisfaction of seeing me rattled. Olivia, I said, my voice flat. You brought this on yourself. All I did was protect myself. She laughed bitterly, wiping her eyes like she was on the verge of a breakdown. You never cared about me. You always just ignored me, made me the villain. Now look at me. My life is ruined. Everyone thinks I'm a liar. And it's all your fault. I could feel the anger rising in my chest, but I held it back. I wasn't going to let her drag me down to her level. You did this to yourself. No one else. I'm not responsible for your actions. She choked on a sob, and for a second, I thought she might break down completely. But then she went right back to anger. You're dead to me, Eli. You don't even know what family is. You're a fucking coward. Her words sliced deeper than I cared to admit, but I didn't let them show. I know exactly what family is. It's not about manipulating people to get attention or lying to get your way. Family means respect. You don't get that. She was shaking now, hands trembling as she shoved past me, storming out of the room, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. I didn't follow her. I didn't need to. I had already said my piece. I wasn't going to keep getting dragged into her chaos. I'd done what I needed to do. Olivia wasn't going to get away with using me as her scapegoat anymore, and I wasn't going to feel guilty for standing up for myself. I had to protect myself, even if that meant cutting ties. She was no longer the sister I knew. She was a person I didn't recognize, and I wasn't going to keep playing her game. As the hours dragged on and I sat in my apartment, I couldn't help but wonder how this would end. But for the first time in a long time, I knew one thing for sure. I was done. There was nothing left to fix here. Not for her. Not for Mom. Not for anyone. I wasn't going back. The days after Olivia's breakdown felt like they dragged on forever. The legal action was taking its course. Her TikTok video had been removed, and she was facing consequences at school for spreading lies. But the aftermath didn't feel like a victory. I wasn't celebrating, and I wasn't relieved. I had done what I needed to do to protect myself, but everything still felt broken. It was almost 2 weeks later when Olivia came to me. I was at my apartment, just finishing dinner when I heard a knock at the door. I didn't even look through the peephole before opening it. I knew who it was. She stood there, her arms crossed, eyes darting around nervously. She looked small, and I almost felt something, guilt, maybe, or pity, but I shook it off before it could take root. I had no reason to feel sorry for her anymore. Can we talk? She asked, her voice quieter than usual. I stepped aside, letting her in. I didn't want to deal with her, but I wasn't about to be rude. I had already distanced myself from the drama. She looked around the apartment, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, she said, almost like she was rehearsing it in her head. I know I went too far. I was just venting, and I didn't mean to hurt you. Her words hung in the air, but they didn't land. The apology felt hollow, like she was saying it because she had to, not because she actually understood what she'd done. It wasn't the first time she'd apologized, but it was the first time she'd tried to come to me in person. Still, it wasn't enough. It never was. I don't know what you want from me, Liv, I said, keeping my voice calm. even though every part of me wanted to lash out. You made me the villain. You made me feel worthless. And now you think an apology fixes it. She shook her head, her face twisting with frustration. I didn't mean it. I just needed people to listen to me. I don't know what I was thinking. She sighed, her shoulders sagging. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean to make everything worse. I didn't respond at first. I just stared at her, watching the way her eyes flickered around, avoiding mine, like she was trying to figure out how to fix things without really understanding how much damage had been done. I know you didn't mean to hurt me, I said slowly, but you did. And it's not just the video, Liv. It's everything. It's the way you've treated me my whole life. I'm not your punching bag. She bit her lip, glancing at the floor. I didn't know it was that bad. I was just angry, and I wanted to hurt you the way you hurt me. That stung. It stung because there was a truth in it, even if it wasn't what I wanted to hear. But hearing it didn't change anything. I wasn't the one who was supposed to fix her. I'm not doing this anymore, I said, my voice steady. I'm not going back to that place. I've tried too many times to be part of this family, to make things work. And it's always the same. You and Mom, covering for each other, making me the bad guy. She opened her mouth to say something, but I held up a hand. This isn't a real apology. You're just trying to make yourself feel better. But I'm done. I can't keep pretending that everything's okay. She started to speak again, but I could see the frustration building in her. You don't even care anymore, do you? You're just running away from everything. Maybe I am, I said quietly. But at least I'm taking control of my life now. I'm not staying in that toxic environment anymore, Liv. I'm not going to keep being your scapegoat or Mom's punching bag. Her face twisted in anger. Fine. Go ahead. Leave. You're not even family anymore. Her words stung more than I let on, but I didn't show it. Maybe you're right, I said, my voice calm but firm. Maybe I'm not, but I'm done trying to make it work. I walked her to the door, and she left without another word, the door clicking shut behind her. I stood there for a moment, just breathing, before sitting down on the couch. The apology hadn't changed anything. Olivia hadn't changed. I hadn't expected it to, really. It wasn't about the apology. It was about me finally standing up for myself. It was about walking away from a situation that had been slowly suffocating me for years. The next morning, I packed up the last of my things. I was leaving the past behind, leaving the guilt behind, leaving the broken family behind. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. My father had barely said anything since the fallout. He didn't try to stop me. He just seemed distant, like he was torn between trying to keep the peace and understanding that I needed to move on. He helped me carry my boxes to the car, but he didn't say much. I could feel the weight of his disappointment, but I didn't have time to dwell on it. The only thing I could focus on was what was in front of me, a new beginning. A place where I could breathe, a place where I wasn't constantly torn down. As I pulled away from the house for the last time, I glanced at the empty driveway behind me. I didn't look back. I couldn't. There was nothing left for me there. The apartment felt quiet in a way that was almost foreign. I could still hear the echo of the chaos from my old house in the back of my mind, but it was starting to fade, like the last remnants of a nightmare. I took a deep breath, unpacking the last of my things, my tools, my clothes, the few keepsakes that mattered. The place was small, but it was mine, and that was all I needed. I spent the next few days settling in, getting used to the silence, the lack of tension. It was like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders, but I could still feel the remnants of the family I'd left behind. I wasn't sure where to begin, how to let go of everything, but I knew I had to. I called my dad once, just to check in. He didn't answer the first time, but I left a message, keeping it simple. Just wanted to see how you're doing, Dad. Hope things are okay. He called back a couple of hours later. I'm doing all right, he said, his voice distant, like he was still figuring out how to handle everything. This whole thing's been tough on everyone. Your mom's still taking it hard, and Olivia, well, she's not making things easier. I didn't say anything at first, just listening. You all right? Yeah, just tired of all the fighting. I'm not really sure how to make it better, but I understand why you had to leave. That was all he said before the conversation turned awkward, and we hung up without much more. I didn't expect him to suddenly change, to suddenly become the father I needed. But I felt something shift when he said he understood. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but it was something. I moved on, trying to focus on the future instead of lingering on the past. I didn't need the approval of my mom or Olivia anymore. I had spent too long trying to appease them, bending myself in ways that only broke me. I was finally starting to feel like I could breathe again. I stopped picking up my mom's calls. She left messages, but they were the same ones: guilt trips, half-hearted apologies, demands for me to come back and fix things. But I was done. I wasn't their punching bag anymore. I couldn't be. I didn't want to cut them off, but I had no choice. For the first time in my life, I was putting myself first. As the days passed, I started to feel something I hadn't in years: peace. I wasn't a man being walked all over. I wasn't a failure or a screw-up. I was just me, standing on my own for the first time. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time, I felt like I could handle it. I wasn't going to let the past hold me back anymore. I had control over my life now, and that made all the difference. I wasn't the man who let people push him around, and I sure as hell wasn't going to be that man again.